Today, we are going to talk about not accepting pain and a nightstand full of meds as a normal part of life.
Your someday starts today. It's time to explore and test the newest science, methods, and trends for creating a life you love with your host, Tanyamfk. Welcome to My Designed Life.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to My Design Life, where we learn and test the latest science, tips, tools, and strategies for you to create your best life every day. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at My Design Life Show and at Tanya MFK, and on the My Design Life Show podcast. I'm your host, Tanya Marie Figueres Preisinger, more easily known as Tanya MFK. Thank you so much for being here today. Now, my guest today has had an incredible journey. Her personal experience of overcoming crippling arthritic pain led her to leave a 30-year career as an engineer, where she now combines that knowledge with functional medicine to design personalized solutions to take control of joint pain naturally so her clients can regain freedom. Her program, Wonderful Fine, has been featured on multiple media outlets as the way to design a life based on what your body needs, and teaches others to build a solid foundation of mind-body wellness that has inspired over 150,000 people to take control of their health with natural solutions. So without further ado, please welcome the wellness engineer, Jane Hogan. Welcome, Jane.
Welcome to My Designed Life.
Oh, Tanya, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, I am really excited to dive into this. You know, I think we all know that the majority of people accept arthritis and joint pain and kind of pain in general as just being a part of getting older. But you've learned not only a whole new truth, but also a new approach to dealing with this. So can you tell us a bit about your journey and what you learned?
Well, for me, it all came on really suddenly in 2016. And I went from I turned 50 and I was a strong, vibrant woman and I felt like 50 is fabulous. And then about a month later, I started getting this joint pain. And then it got worse very, very quickly within about 3 months. I was actually hardly able to walk. I had so much pain in my hands that I couldn't make a fist. And my knees are all swollen up and my jaw, my shoulders, like it was just throughout.
Just like out of nowhere.
Well, yeah, I had had a really stressful year leading up to it. And it's just like, it just took its toll. And so I was pretty much lying in a bathtub most of the time because that was the only way I could get some relief. And I remember lying there in this bathtub thinking, my life can't be meant for this. I just knew it couldn't be. And I thought, I've been looking forward to, retirement coming up. My kids had just grown. We had our freedom years ahead and we wanted to travel and I could hardly walk. Like there was no way I was going to be able to travel. So I made a decision and I said, I am going to do everything in my power to try to fix this. And I was feeling very, very weak at the time, but I was just like, I got it. I'm doing something. So I think, it was making the decision. And it's interesting that I think because it was so bad, it took me to that place where I had to make a decision. If it was sort of like mildly bad, I probably would have lived with it. But because it was so bad and I was afraid for my future, that I just had to do something. So that's what got me started.
Yeah, no, it makes so much sense. I remember being told once that hopeless was one of the best places to be. And it sounded so strange because that's not what you hear on the pretty little cards or in Instagram quotes. And it was hopeless is the best place to be because then you're not waiting for something else outside to save you anymore. You're like, there is nothing else. And when you're kind of left with that, you're like, I guess I got to do something. I guess I got to do something, or I'm going to just accept this as my reality. And no one wants to do that. And so I'm curious, before you got to that point, had you been seeking help? Were you told that things were just going to have to stay the way they are? Or were you just kind of avoiding even going that route?
Well, I had seen my doctor, of course, and nothing was showing up in my blood work. So there was no diagnosis. I was doing, research with Dr. Google, like we always do. Excuse me. And I was pretty sure that I had symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis. So I kind of figured that's what it was. but I had no diagnosis. So I happened to find some stories, and I think I was typing in like healing rheumatoid arthritis naturally.
Mm.
And so it led me to some other people that had used food and lifestyle. And then I was like, okay, because when you look up, rheumatoid arthritis and you start looking at the prognosis, there's nothing good. It's like there's no cure. You'll get, worse and worse over time,
Maybe some
shorter
cortisone
lives,
shots,
yeah,
pain
shorter
management.
lifespan, terrible medications that have horrible side effects that can cause cancer and all these other things. I was like, I don't want to go down that route if I don't have to.
Yeah.
So I started researching and finding stories of other people. And I'm also really, really fortunate that I had a family doctor who said, well, we'll make an appointment to see a rheumatologist. Now, where I live, it was going to take 6 months.
Wow.
So I had 6 months before I was going to see a rheumatologist. And she said, my doctor said, sometimes joint pain is related to food you eat. And I'm like, what? That's crazy. How can food affect your joints? So I followed her advice. She said, well, you could just try and see, the certain foods or the common inflammatory foods. Try avoiding anyway. It was amazing. I started in on it like kind of cold turkey. And in 5 days, my pain was about half. Like it was that quick.
Wow.
Now, it didn't continue that quick all along, but it was just such an immediate change that I knew that there was power in food.
Yeah, I can imagine that is encouraging. What did you
Yes.
do? I just out of curiosity when you that first initial,
The
not
first
as a
initial,
treatment, like guys, we're
yeah,
not saying this, but just
yeah.
curious, like what was the like were they minor changes? Was it a huge overhaul in that short time?
Well, it was gluten and dairy
Okay.
and really sugar, because the only time I had sugar was in baked things.
Mm.
So I kind of cut out the three at the same time, and it was a drastic change. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have a food plan to follow. I didn't have a coach. I didn't have anything. I was just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And but I knew that there was power in food. So that led me to research a bit more, and because I'm an engineer, I did graphs and charts, and so I could see progress that I was making.
I love that.
And yeah, so it led me along, and along the way I discovered functional medicine, which kind of deals with root causes of illness. So I discovered that, and then I also started discovering, I had always been a believer in the power of mindset, about other parts of life, but I didn't realize how important it was in dealing with health. And really, the health is no different than every other thing that you're going after, in terms of your mindset being so powerful, a powerful tool. So I started using mindset, because I think up to that point I was thinking of this illness as I was feeling like a victim, and it's happening to me, and not really seeing it as something that was happening possibly for me. If you're familiar with the work of Byron Katie,
Oh yes.
that's one of her things, is that what if everything is happening for me? So I started looking at my illness differently and say, okay, if this is what I've been, if this is what I have, and if this is happening for me, what am I meant to learn?
Mm.
And then I started examining every part of my life and saying, okay, what do I really want? And this is your whole premise about life by design. What do I want in my life?
Yeah.
I'm just going to turn this around and put only the things I want in there. And that's what I've been doing, and that's what's brought me to what I'm doing now, which health coaching. I absolutely love it.
I
So
love
I
this.
left, yeah, I left my 30-year career in engineering, which I did love, but then I had this new passion, and I wanted to share it with people. And how could I do it if I didn't have a platform? It didn't work when I was in my job as an engineer, because they don't want to hear that. So I found a whole new platform, and also taught engineering for a number of years too. So I was used to teaching, and I love teaching, and I could take complicated things and break them down and make them more simple. And so it's sort of like pulling together everything that I love now in this new life that I've designed.
I love this. There's a lot of things I want to unpack in here. So going back to
Okay.
the engineer and breaking things down, one thing that we said really quickly as you were explaining this was how you created charts and kind of kept track of things. And I think that's something that gets lost in a lot of the messaging out there about these great things that people can do with their lives with food. There's a lot of information. We're not short of information, right? As you said, Dr. Google, you're able to find details. There's a lot of people who come on our show, and they're not necessarily bringing something that the audience has never heard before. But what the difference is the steps that they give them to actually get started. And when you
Hmm.
said that, it was so important because a lot of us have heard that maybe food can help us. I think that is becoming more common knowledge.
Yeah.
But being able to be aware of when we cut out sugar and go, how do I actually feel? Do I notice a difference? Because life is going so fast. So a lot of time we may do the steps, but we're not even paying attention. And so
Mm.
taking that time, I think for you, when you took the charts, when you were still on the beginning of this journey, you were able to take something and quantify it and go, did I feel better on Thursday? Did I feel even better on Saturday? And be able to look back and say, I did, is probably a huge point, like a huge turning point, I would say. Because one of the things I always like to bring up is, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. And so a lot of times we can look back and go, I don't know, maybe I felt about the same or I felt about this. But if you're really tracking it, you get honest feedback from even yourself, because we're skewed 3 days later to go, I think I was good. I don't know, maybe it was no difference. But in the
Mm.
moment when we're paying attention. So I wanted to bring light to that because you said it really quick. And I was like, whoa, that is something there. I think in that experience that you had of really paying attention to those differences. And then when you were encouraged, you were able to go, like, let's keep going on this, let's keep
Hmm.
doing this. So I thought that was really interesting. And then also going into just the passion of this, that you had such a huge transformation that you were like, I need to keep talking about this. I need to keep bringing this out to people. And I think it was also important that you had a helpful doctor, right? That's also something that not everyone has the luxury to have. Some doctors can be very dismissing of the things that you might bring up. Some may not be dismissive, but they may just not have the background. I think we discussed with a couple of people before, and actually we have a functional medicine doctor who's been on the show a couple times, and she said, the amount of nutritional information that she was learning and getting when she was going through typical medical school was just astonishing and pretty much non-existent to what it was. And just the idea that, what does food have to do with it? So for you to even have a doctor that said maybe food could be part of this, is such a golden nugget, I think, in that
I
journey.
know. Pretty amazing. I'm so thankful. I wonder sometimes when I think back on it, what would I have even gone down this route? I don't know, but I'm just very thankful and blessed that she's in my life. And
Absolutely.
thank you so much for drawing attention, Tanya, to the graphing and charting stuff, because I know, knowing now what a powerful tool it was for me, I use that with my clients now. Because
Mm,
the thing about pain is you forget pain.
yes.
Ask any woman who's delivered a baby,
And then has
right?
another one.
Yeah, we
You
do
forgot.
forget pain. We forget pain. We might remember things, like I talk about the things I couldn't do, but the pain, it does. You somehow, as human nature, I guess, we do just kind of forget it. So using charting and graphing and tracking tools is part of what I do with my clients, because then they can see the progress. It
Yes.
encourages them as they're making these changes, because lifestyle changes aren't easy to make. It encourages them. They can see like the real link between things, like between a food that they ate and then they had pain the next day, or digestive issues the next day, or the link between getting a week of bad sleep. and then having pain, or having a stressful day and then pain. So when you track these things, it's just so powerful, and it's empowering, because a lot of times when people get an illness, you feel that you feel powerless, you feel like a victim. So turning this around like this, you become the powerful person. You know your body better than anyone else. You're paying attention to how your body's reacting to all of this environment around you, because that's what you're
Yes.
doing. You're
You become the
creating.
one with the knowledge, actually, the
Yeah.
expertise of the
Yes.
body by
Yeah.
having that
Yeah.
information with something as simple as tracking and having a chart. So I
Yeah.
love that you do that. And the other thing that you mentioned in there that which I know is in a lot of your work and I love, which is one of the reasons I really wanted to bring you on here, was you do talk a lot about that victim mentality and the mindset. And again, as we cross to another buzzword, I think these days is we're hearing mindset. But a lot of your work, I say, is very adamant about making the choice, making a conscious choice and saying, I have to decide, am I going to give up or am I going to keep going? Am I the victim or if this is for me? Now, it sounds really nice. And I think for some of us who maybe heard the Tony Robbins speeches, we're like, I get it. But how do we really get into that? How do we really get past that? Do you have anything that can help us when we're actually feeling like giving up to go, how do I not be a victim in this?
Well, I guess it comes back to, do you want to be a victim?
Mm.
If you don't, who wants to be a victim? Although, having said that, some people maybe don't want to give up on some things. I talked to someone about this the other day, about how, if you're not feeling well, and that gives you a chance to, maybe spend the day in bed or not doing anything else. Like, for a lot of women who have done stuff for people their whole life, maybe this is the way that they get a little break, and maybe they don't want to give up on it.
Yes.
It's interesting to think that someone wouldn't want to, but I think that's where you really got to get into some self-exploration and really
Yes.
questioning what's going on in your mind, your thoughts, paying attention to what you're thinking about.
That's another chart.
Journaling. I love journaling too, which is a form of a chart, but it's just more information. But
Absolutely.
yeah, being aware of what you're thinking about, and where you want to go. And I think for me, it came down to this: we got one life, and I'm just going to live it to the fullest. I don't want to just play a safe game, or the sitting around game, or the wallowing game. I want to get out there and be big and be
Yeah.
large and live my life the way I want to live it. And
That's the choice. That's the
yeah,
deliberate choice right there.
yeah,
Absolutely. Because it can be, like you said, maybe there's something they're not realizing. If you ask them, they would go, of course, I don't want to feel this way. But then there becomes an identity and a comfortability with this new world. Even though the circumstances aren't ideal, we start to go, well, this is who I am. I'm a sufferer of this illness. And perhaps there's a support group that goes with that. Perhaps there's the same people you see at the doctor's office. I know for myself, working in immunology, we definitely had people who would come to that and we loved seeing them and they were like family, but it actually starts to become your identification. And
mm-hmm.
none of us want to lose our identities, and so it's hard to separate, to go, of course I don't want to feel this way, but then you also don't realize the attachment that you start to build around the problem or the illness or the victim area that you're in, can become its own thing. So that makes so much sense that we really need to not only be looking at our food and these things, but even where our mindset is, pre, during, or post the experience of where we're
Yeah.
at, where is that mindset going, and what is that? So I love that you focus so much on that, where it's not just body heal thyself, which I think is maybe a mentality some people have heard, like, you got to really believe you can be healed. Yes, that's important, but also really understanding where you're at in all of
Mm-hmm.
this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And making that deliberate choice. That is
Yeah.
awesome.
I think that identity that you talked about too is so important. And I know it's a big thing with Tony Robbins, this whole identity. And yes, you can have an identity. I think my identity before this was I was a strong, vibrant woman. And then I got the illness and I was like, oh, my body let me down. I'm being attacked. I'm sick, and I had that identity obviously for a while because but then I wanted my new identity was I was going to be the person that overcame it
Mm,
naturally. And I would actually like even look in the mirror and say, I'm an example of what's possible. And I
that's
still do that,
amazing.
so just that I wanted to create the identity of being the one that overcame it.
Was it just being at your lowest of low that pushed you to that? Or was there some other encouragement perhaps that got you to that? And I ask this just because if there's someone listening who's like, I hear that, but I'm still feeling like
Yeah.
my body's let me down, and this is just the way it is. Um, so one thing you mentioned when I asked before was, taking time to actually ask yourself, what do you really want? So
Hmm.
that's that deliberate choice. Is there anything else within that kind of mindset, perhaps?
I think is searching out stories of other people that have succeeded. It's like, it's sort of like um, when you see other people and they've managed to overcome something, then you get a belief that it's possible.
Yeah. Well, it's like the classic, diet, thing. We're like,
Yeah.
look, they lost weight doing it. I could do it. You
Yeah.
start taking, even if it's like totally unrealistic picture, you're like, I could do that too. It helps though. It helps us move that
Yeah.
needle. Where in this case, it's actually very realistic.
Yeah. And that what was the mile? What's the mile? Was it the 4 minute mile or?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That nobody could beat that.
Nobody could
Right.
beat it, but then one person did, and then people were beating it all over the place. Like,
Yeah.
oh, that is possible. Okay, that's possible.
Yes.
And so that
Yes.
was kind of the same thing with me. It's like I said, okay, it was possible for that person. It was possible that for that person, and that's part of why I really wanted to talk about all this and have a platform where I could let other people know because I want them to know it's possible.
Yeah.
It's totally possible. Other people have done it and you can do it too. We need to shift the story on a lot of these chronic illnesses that people think they can't do anything. And there's so much they can do and they can
And
be
they've been
powerful.
told. I think that's the hard part
Yeah.
too, is that they
Yeah.
may come into it with this great attitude, and then they start hearing from other professionals and things going, yeah, you know what, this is all we can do. And you just get that knocked down and knocked down. And so it gets so hard to believe that there can be another way. But like you said, that mentality of not giving up, that asking yourself, is this happening to me or happening for me? Making that conscious choice to say, I'm going to listen to my body and my heart, and I'm not going to give up, is huge. And I know you also say, as opposed to being a victim, we have to choose to respond as powerful creators, right?
Hmm.
So you say a little more about what you mean about that.
Well, if we believe that we are creating our life, then even when you have an illness, you have the power to create the life that you want, one step at a time. So you look at what do I need to do? And you can look a little bit into the future and say, okay, where do I want to be? You create this vision of where you want to be. Okay, that's maybe 3 years or a year, whatever it is down there. Okay, what do I need to do? And you take the small steps every day. You keep taking steps every day, moving you towards that goal and that vision that you want to have, keeping your mind on that vision. So I think
Yeah.
that's important, is really having a goal of where you want to be. For
And
me,
then
it was this traveling, and we really love sailing and want to sail. So I would picture myself on a sailboat, hoisting up the
I was gonna say,
sails.
that's a lot of work too.
Yeah,
That's not passive
it's
traveling.
it's physical work, and it's takes strength in your hands to pull those ropes. So I was picturing that. We don't have grandchildren yet, but I want grandchildren one day, and I was picturing myself running around after grandchildren and picking them up, and that's the kind of stuff, like those are my visions of
Mm.
what I wanted, and it wasn't going to happen if I didn't make some changes to get my health where I needed it to be.
Yes. So instead of grieving that vision as something that can never happen, you can see that and go, how do I get there? That's one thing you said, is I saw my vision, and then I started saying, what steps do I need to take? And then took
Hmm.
that first step. So you really saw that, worked backwards,
Yeah.
and then just took that first step.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I did that right in the beginning, but as I was going along, I'm figuring all this stuff out. But that's where I like to start with people, is start with your vision. Like what's your why? Why do you care?
Yeah.
Because if you don't care enough, just go ahead, take the med, do whatever you're going to do. But if you care, then take the time to create that vision. Take the time to really get all those details in of what you want and feel it. That's the other big thing, is feeling the feelings that go along with it, and the gratitude. Have gratitude that it's happened as if it's already happened.
Oh, yes. Yes. The
It's
emotional
just,
connection to our visualizations. Guys,
yes,
there is so much neuroscience behind the power
there
of
is.
that. I talk a lot about visualization. I attribute visualization to a lot of the things that I've been able to do, being able to see it. And I do it on a daily basis for my
Me too.
regular stuff of just what I'm going to do for the day. And then I have my long term of like, this is where I want to be in 3 years, and just
Yeah.
zone out, like without it sounding fluffy, guys. Like I literally just zone out on like this idea and picture in my head, and really get to details of what it's going to look
Mm,
like, what it's going to feel like, how fun it'll be, what I'll be doing, even what I'll be
yeah.
wearing, and creating that emotional connection, because then your brain sees that as something that's already happened, and then
Yes.
begins to search and connect for more of that,
Yeah.
and that's why our body, our brain doesn't know the difference between reality and fiction. And
Yeah.
so that's why we can cry at a movie, because we may tell ourselves it's just a movie, it's just a movie, but your body's going to react physically to that vision, react
Hmm.
physically to these fake characters and fake situation on the screen. Real tears or real fear, real adrenaline, heartbeat, all of
Yeah.
those things. And that's the power of connecting that vision and our emotions to our body.
So powerful. And, I had read about, I've kind of been interested in all that kind of thing, manifestation, all that for a number of years. And, I knew people were using it for business and this and that, but I was like, health, does it work with health too? It does. I mean, our cells are reproducing all the time. We're not, not even the same person that we were
Yeah.
7 years ago.
Yes, our
Right.
body's cells are always changing.
Yeah. So, and our cells are energetic, and they are listening to our thoughts and our feelings, which are energy as well. So, you know, I, I feel like I'm living proof that it works.
Yeah, absolutely you are. Yes.
And there's other people as well. Like if anyone follows the work of like someone like Joe Dispenza,
Mm.
they're doing this stuff all the time. So I think I think the word is getting out, and more people are becoming aware of the power of all this. It's not just fluffy.
Yeah, yeah. It's not
It's
just a fluffy
necessary.
woo woo. There's a lot of science behind this, guys. There's a lot
It
of
is.
reality and power behind. And I remember hearing, and I'm so bad with names sometimes. I don't know who said it, but it was like, we are the pharmacists, we are the chemist of our body, because all of these things, all the things that outside chemistry and pharmaceuticals are doing to us, are working within those cells, are working within, it's all of those things that are causing reactions or whatever, but from an outside source that's not coming from us. So there's side effects, it's foreign, yada yada. We have the same things that we can produce in our body. Our body has these things, and so we can actually become our own chemist and our own pharmacist. I remember just hearing it in that way,
Yeah.
just kind of flipped the switch. I was like, wow, I never, like, I've heard about this stuff, but when I heard it that way, I was like, oh wow, like I can really focus on creating, like we can create serotonin. We've heard of, most of us will
Yes.
accept that, right? Most of us will have heard this science and go, okay, I get that, dopamine, serotonin, I can create that. Why do you think it stops there? Why do we
Yeah.
think it stops there with our ability to create our own chemistry, people? Like that's how
Yes.
powerful this stuff is.
It
So I
really
love
is.
that. So if we're listening to this, someone's hearing this, they're like, okay, I'm getting through the mindset. I'm hearing you that I have a choice. I'm feeling, hopefully, maybe they're dragging their feet, but going like, okay, fine. I'm going to say I'm not going to be the victim. I'm going to say that I have power to do this. Um, how do we get started? Where do we go? What's some of the like tips and nitty gritty stuff that we can start this? Like, how did you start this journey? I know we started with food. I mean, are there kind of like
Mhm.
5 spaces we touch, or what do we do now if we're gonna believe you?
Well, I think, you need to make a decision. Someone needs to make a decision that they're going to do this no matter what.
Mhm.
They're going to take forward steps every day, no matter what. And then spend time researching. Read stuff, read up on things. There's loads of information out there. But if you want to fast track, of course, work with someone who can tell you the path
Yeah.
that's going to fast track it. So where people would start, it's different for everybody because it depends where they're coming in.
Right.
Tracking is important. Start monitoring your food, what you're eating, and how your body is responding. Track, your sleep. Track
Okay, so sleep is a
your
big one as well.
movement.
Like,
Track,
physical exercise and stuff when you
yeah,
say movement or
yeah,
okay.
or stretching, yeah, any of that movement. Your relationships, including your
Wow.
relationship with yourself, yeah, and also stress. So look at all of these life, I would.
Oh, okay. So we got caught off there for a second, but we were going through the 5 lifestyle factors. And just recap again, real quick, what were we started with food, monitoring food, looking at
Yep.
that, looking at our sleep, looking at our relationships, looking at movement, and then we were at stress, right?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
that's the 5 of them. And I would say for a lot of illnesses, the 2 biggest ones that impact people's health are the food and nutrition, because most people are eating, if they're eating a standard diet, then it's probably causing inflammation in their body. And then the other one is stress. Stress impacts so many aspects of our health. People don't always think about it as affecting their digestion, for example. But we all know you feel nervous. Where do you feel it? You get butterflies in your belly. And when we're stressed, so our central nervous system can only be in one of 2 states. It can only be in the rest, digest, restore, relax, rejuvenate mode, or it can be in the fight, flight, fear kind of mode. So if it's in the fight, flight, fear, we've got no digestion going on. We're not sleeping well because our body and our mind is just focused on stay alive. So everything is being directed towards that. So a lot of our natural functions don't happen the way they should. And then that causes our physical health to start to deteriorate. So stress is a big one. Always address stress.
Yeah. So if we're looking at these 5, so we're coming in, hopefully we're getting a coach because it sounds like a lot of stuff to do. So we're coming and finding someone like you. And our first thing is to kind of maybe just pay attention to get a better baseline of where we're at. Is that where we kind of start? And then after we figure that, because you got to know where you are, right? You can't, it's hard to get directions if you don't know where you are. So where you're starting from. So you really get with people to kind of find out really where they are, pay attention to perhaps more than they've been paying attention, because I'm sure a lot of people come to you and the number one thing they know is I'm in pain. I have a diagnosis of this. And you're like, so you kind of bring to them, there's a lot more to look at than that, than their pain. Because again, like you said, we're probably not realizing that there's all these other factors. So many people aren't equating sleep to their issues other than being tired. They only see that as the issue. That's, what does it have to do with my memory or my mood? You're like, touche, it has lots to do. So you're kind of bringing that to light, having them evaluate all of those things. And then from there, depending on what they're out of balance, you just kind of start to deal with each one of those areas.
Well, I start off with where are you now? Where do you want to be?
Right. Okay.
And then we start on, because you can't overwhelm people.
Yeah.
It can be overwhelming. When there's, you need to change your lifestyle. So start with manageable steps. And of course, it's different for everybody. What's doable for one person may not be doable for another person. So I really like to customize it. But I always start with food and nutrition and stress are kind of the key ones to start with, and then build on it from there. But even if someone is working on their own or just like, I don't know what to do today, the very first thing I would say is slow down when you eat.
Yes.
Create. So, because so many people are eating in a really stressful state, they're, got the TV on, they're checking their phone, they're walking around, eating at their desk or whatever. So just changing how you eat and creating a calm environment, because our digestion actually starts in our brain. If you think about it, you see food, you smell it, goes to your brain, you start to salivate. So our digestion starts in our brain. So even creating a calm environment when you eat is a great place to start. Even if you're not eating the best food, at least then you're helping your body digest it well.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
start with, and I got a great little tool for that if your audience would like to have it. But yeah, starting with just, light some candles, just setting up a relaxing environment, set the table, maybe put some flowers there, but just create that a nice environment. And then as you're eating, relax while you're eating. Think about how grateful you are for the food and all the people that produce the food that you're eating, just feeling a lot of gratitude and noticing the flavors and the smell of your food. And then eating slowly. So, put your hands in your lap while you're eating, while you're chewing. So you put your utensils down and just like try to really chew your food. I mean, it's supposed to be a paste, really. Most of
Right.
us aren't getting
Right.
anywhere near that, right? So just those simple steps, it's a great way to start. Start with how you're eating, even before you worry about what you're eating.
I love that. No, it's a great place to start. And just that you kind of meet them where they're at. You come in, you're not overwhelming them. Because I'll be honest, guys, I think this is why I don't do this kind of coaching, because I would be the bully. I'd be like, what do you mean you don't want an overhaul? Your life has just been overhauled. Your life has just been turned upside down. And now you're going to go, oh, I don't want to eat differently. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm not the nice one. Because, I'm taking this moment right now to say that, because I think on the flip side of things, when we're so afraid of change, maybe some of us, not all of us, need that kick in the butt to say, it's already been changed. It's already yucky. So what kind of yuckiness are you willing to go through to make it different, to say enough is enough and I want it to be different? Because you've already been made uncomfortable to end up where, and that's why you don't like where you're at. That's why you're literally in pain or uncomfortable. Like, life has taken whatever circumstances it's taken, and now you're here. So I'd rather choose my uncomfortableness than let life choose it for me and say, you know what, I'm going to eat that stuff I don't want to eat, or I'm going to light some candles that maybe take extra effort, which sounds like a wonderful, task to have, to go through that. So I just wanted to point that out, that she's going to meet you where you are, which is wonderful. And it's even that much easier, because the truth is we need to do what it takes to get there. We need, if we really want it. And I love that you're having them set that vision, because that is uncovering that deepest motivation, uncovering what it's really about, is going to be a much nicer kick in the butt than me yelling what I just yelled, but a much nicer kick in the butt to say, yes, that's why I'm doing this. That's because when it gets mucky, when it gets difficult, when it gets, not tasty, or feeling stressful to look at your stress, that's going to be the thing that holds you and pushes you through, is that vision, right? Is that future goal and that future self. We just had a guest on here talking about our future selves, talking about being able to really envision who that is of us in the future. And so you being able to see yourself on that sailboat with the future grandkids that don't exist, like, that is so huge, that I'm sure got you through some lulls as you went through this path, right?
Yeah, it really did. And I think the other thing is maybe because of the nature, the illness that I'm working with, joint pain is a great motivator.
Yeah.
People will do a lot to get out of pain. So, that is a great motivator. And I think the other part is when, like, by the time people come to me, a lot of times they have made that decision already. But as I said, lifestyle changes aren't always easy. So we need to keep coming back to what's
Right.
what's your why? Why are you doing this? Because it's
Yeah.
slow as well. Like, sometimes it's easier to pop a pain medication than it is to make these changes.
Well, and I'm
But long
glad
term, it's better. Yeah.
that you brought that up, because pain can be a great motivator, and that gets them to you. But to keep going through it, we need something deeper than that, than just getting out
Yeah.
of pain. Because, and I love that you said this, is that taking the pill is easier. taking the pill is easier. Let's be honest, guys. Taking the pill is easier, but the side effects may not be. Whatever complications can come with that, extra costs that can come with that may not be easier. And the fact is you're taking the pill because you needed to get out of pain. So the pain, that means it's still there. And so the pain can get us there, but you had to find something deeper to hold on to, a vision to hold on to that got you willing to push through the ease of just forget it, I'll just take the damn pill. Right. Like I think that's so important to point out right now, that you do need something deeper than just the pain will get you there. The pain will get you motivated to move, but you need something bigger and deeper to sustain the work it's going to take.
Yeah. Yeah. You need something deeper. You need the vision, and you need the belief.
Yeah. It all works together, right? That like you
Does.
said, that mind, body, spirit, heart, all comes together for this goal to get out of pain. The pain alone won't do it, guys. The pain just gets you to someone who can help you, like Jane here. That's what it gets you to. But as you've mentioned too, and I keep playing it like it's not gonna be a grueling, necessarily awful thing. She's gonna bring you through some like fun diet changes and some movements that work for you. And all like the changes aren't always going to be as terrible as I'm making them sound, like, oh, just deal with it, guys. No, there's some great things that you're bringing into their lives.
Well, it's just it's changing habits, and habits are hard to change. And a lot of times food changes are really hard because we do have there's so much else around food. It's the social, we gather socially around food. We have celebrations around food. And the way all that has been built up is maybe with foods that aren't necessarily serving our bodies very well, especially if you've got inflammation. So those things are difficult to navigate. But what I've found with my clients, when they start seeing the results, and they start seeing them very quickly, and they're starting to feel better, that helps motivate
big payoff them. Yeah, that's a big payoff that gets you going, like, you know what, I can do without it then. Actually, I feel amazing. So
but there's other people. I remember someone saying, I was talking to someone, and he had a trigger finger or whatever. He was starting to get some problems with his joint. I said, if you maybe just try cutting out gluten for a week and just see how you do with it. And he was like, oh, if I have to cut out gluten, I just as soon not live. So, that's the choice some people want to make, and that's fine. They're not my people. Right, my people are the people who do want to do something about it. So
yeah. Well, there's going to come a point where that trigger free is going to keep him from picking up the gluten things he likes. So he's going to be right back there. Like, all right, Jane,
so true.
I can't even pick up the cracker I want. Help me. So, well, before my last question, can you please tell everyone where they can find you, what you have going on? And I know you have some offers for them as well.
Well, I got a couple things going on right now. The one that I mentioned about the calm inflammation while you eat, they could get from my website, which is janehoganhealth.com/while eating.
Okay.
All one word. And so that's one tool. I got another one. I know we haven't really touched on the mornings very much, but I believe morning routines are really powerful as well. Yeah. So I've got a guideline done. It's a multimedia PDF with a guideline on how to set up your morning to help you create really a life that you want. So that's janehoganhealth.com/morning. So there's a couple of things.
I love that. And I hope you guys who have been following us for a while notice, with all the different types of guests that we've had, from mindset to careers to increasing your health, decreasing your stress, getting better sleep. I'm trying to think some of the other topics we've had, changing your personality. I would challenge you to find one of our guests who have not mentioned the importance of the morning routine, and giving you the tools, giving you the thing here. Some have told you to get up early. Some told you don't have to get up early. So there is definitely one of our guests who's given you something that fits for your lifestyle. But just hear it again. And I'm going to point it out here again. That morning routine, guys, we can't deny it. It is so, so important. Every day can be the best day of our life. And it starts with choosing how we want to wake up, what that foundation of our day. So that sounds awesome. A multimedia full kind of thing to step it up. So check that out. So I didn't mean to cut you off. What else do you have? Or do you have anything else? What else?
Oh, I've got lots more, but that's probably a good place to start. And if they go to my website,
Mhm.
janehoganhealth.com, they can find the stuff there as well. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram at Jane Hogan Health. And I'm not on Twitter and LinkedIn that much, but I do have accounts. But that's probably a good place to start with Facebook, Instagram, YouTube as well.
Oh,
Jane
great. So you
Hogan
have
Health.
some information and
Yep.
stuff on YouTube as well.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
So how does someone work with you in coaching? Do they just call you up? Do you have like an introductory thing, or how does that work?
Well, I've got a free Facebook group
Oh,
it's
amazing.
called the Natural Joint Pain Relief Support Group. So I've got that. So if anyone wants to work for free and connect with me for free in that group, that's a way to do it. I've got my Wonderful Fine membership group for women. So that's for women who have joint pain and inflammation and they want to create more energy and create peace and calm in their life. So that's a monthly membership program. So that they can find out more at janehoganhealth.com
That's
slash
amazing. Okay.
Wonderful Fine. So that's all one word. So that's kind of a low cost way to have it's group coaching. So it's not individualized coaching. Now, if someone's got an illness and they like want to quickly get on track, then the best way to do that is one-on-one coaching. And I have a program for that called Best Kind. So this is a Newfoundland expression where I live. Someone says, "How are you doing today?" And the answer is Best Kind or Wonderful Fine. So
Oh,
that's what I
nice.
named the
Okay.
programs after.
I
So the
love
best,
that.
yeah, I love it too. Best Kind is it's a 12-week program. So I
Okay.
meet with them every week and we come up with manageable action steps to take them from being inflamed to empowered.
Love that. So we have free resources, free groups, membership, paid memberships, one-to-one coaching. So the theme here, Jane will meet you where you're at. Okay.
Yes.
Wherever you're at in this journey, she has a way to support you. Oh, and the videos on YouTube. So there are plenty of ways for you to begin that step to health, for you to begin this process, move up wherever you are in the journey, whatever type of support you need. It sounds like you've got it covered.
Yeah.
And you are a living, healthy, happy example of where you can get to. And I'm just curious before we move on, have you been sailing yet since this?
I haven't. I want to go
Okay.
sailing.
So
Yeah.
she owes us a sailing photo, guys. That's what we want to see.
Just you wait. Just you wait. As
Okay.
soon as I'm on that sailboat, I'm getting a picture.
That's right. We
So
want
be
the
on my
picture.
Instagram.
Yeah, we're going to celebrate that with you. Tag us when it happens. I want you to tag us there so we can celebrate because that'll be amazing. And I mean, I'm sure with COVID, nobody's getting out that much these days. But when you're on it, I want to see that because that'll be such an amazing testament to
Yeah.
that journey. So
It'll be my dream.
yes, that's well good for you because I don't mind sitting on a sailboat. I just don't want to do all that work. I remember the first time I was on a sailboat, I was like, this is what it takes. Oh my goodness. So I admire people who can do all that work and all those knots and all that and not fall off or get seasick. So that's amazing. There's so many elements there, guys. Like that's really the pillar of health right there. So for my last question, as we've covered so many amazing things, I think so many strengths, just really every part of our body we've really covered and touched on of what it takes. And this, guys, this all started by talking about joint health. So again, if we think about, we are connected. That's why she's a functional medicine coach. That's why we're looking at the root causes. That's why we have these types of people here to really show all the areas that we have power in, all the areas that we have choices in, and how it's a lot of times just small little steps and changes to create the amazing life that we want. So I say all that, preface all that to say and to ask Jane, as we've looked at all this, what is one thing out of all this stuff that someone goes, okay, either I'm in pain or I don't want to get to pain. Maybe that's something as well. That I can do or change or adjust this week, like right away, to bring me into this type of health.
Mm-hmm. I think it's making a decision. That's that's the starting point. Making a decision and then taking the small steps. It doesn't have to be big steps, but you're just like pointing the compass in the right direction, navigating. Here we go, the sailing boat analogy, but navigating in the right direction. And as long as you're going in the right direction, even small steps, baby steps will take you there. So
Yeah.
just taking small steps every day, something that's going to move you where you want to go.
I love that. So it starts in the mind, guys. This is
It does.
free to do. This says you don't need to buy a supplement. You don't need to, we're not even got to the food changes yet, which means not even a grocery store trip. This is just sitting down and consciously making that decision of what you want, where you want to be. That's step one. Step two is then actually
Yeah.
taking one of those steps, right? But that
Yeah.
first step is just the clarity, I
Mhm.
would say, right? Just getting that
Yeah.
clarity,
Yeah. The
that
clarity.
vision.
Yep. Clarity, vision, taking the small steps and staying calm. I'm going into more than one thing, aren't I? Staying calm as you're doing it. Well, I guess that's the belief, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
That
as
goes
you got the
along
belief,
with
you
it.
say,
Yeah.
I every day, this was one of my little, my affirmations, whatever, every day in every way, taking steps to take me in the right direction.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here. Are there any last words or anything else you want to share with the listeners before we wrap up?
I want to say a big thank you, Tanya. This has been so much fun. I really, really enjoyed it. And I hope your listeners have taken from this that they can be powerful. They can create the environment that's going to create healing in their lives. And they don't have to be a victim
Yes.
if they've got an illness,
Hear
or even
that.
if they think they've got bad genes.
Oh, ooh, good point. That's a whole other show, guys.
It
Okay.
is.
If you think it's just the way I am, it's just genetics. I'm just bound to be this. Oh, okay. Erasing that victim mentality. Absolutely. Thank you again. It has been an absolute pleasure. You guys, if you're looking to be in charge of your body, if you're looking to create your health, it's time to get in touch with Jane at Jane Hogan Health on her website, janehoganhealth.com, and start that journey. You have the support. There's so many areas of support that she has for you. This is a perfect way and introduction for you to get doing that, whether you want to avoid getting to that point or you're already finding yourself there and you need some new tools and answers. Please, I can't overstate again how helpful it will be for you to get in touch with her. As always, you can connect with us at My Design Life Show and at Tanyamfk on Facebook and Instagram, and learn more about our courses, workshops, and coaching at tanyamfk.com. Now, if you like this episode, make sure to subscribe and follow and be notified when our next one is up by clicking that button now. So remember, your someday starts today. Make it the best. I'm Tanya MFK, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. You can catch us every week at 1 p.m. EST live on the My Design Life Show Facebook page and on YouTube at the Tanya MFK channel. See how the challenges go by following us on Facebook and Instagram at My Design Life Show and at Tanya MFK. Do you have a method, tip, or hack you'd like to share or explore? Submit to be a guest or suggest a topic by visiting mydesignlife.show.